Today, we are going to be taking a look at how we can use Maschine Plus to record vocals. First, using the female side of an XLR cable, plug this side directly into your mic. I'm using the MXL 990. On the opposite end of the XLR cable, you will find a male connector. Plug this directly to the input of your preamp. Using a TRS cable, I will take the output of my preamp and plug it directly into mic in on the machine. If you are using a dynamic microphone, consider cranking the gain. I am using my condenser mic, and my tube preamp is supplying the 48 volts, so I will turn this gain all the way down. Here I can engage my 48 volts for phantom power. Next, I can adjust the output gain or the input gain, and I'll set it about halfway. And I'll make some fine adjustments here. Just to recap, I have the output of my microphone feeding the input of my tube preamp. Then I'm taking a TRS cable and plugging that from the output directly to the input of the Maschine Plus. Then I have my left and right output, and that's feeding my patch bay in this case. Normally it would feed your monitor outputs. The patch bay is actually feeding the inputs to my Orion Studio, and then from there it's going to the main monitor outputs. Now we're going to dive into Maschine and show you how to use the sampling function. Alright, so here we are inside of the Maschine Studio, and there's a few things that I want to show you today about routing a mic through the machine. So in order to get this right, we want to first look at our preferences, and we can open up that window by hitting Command, comma. And on the left hand side here, you're going to see where it says audio. We want to click on that, and then we can see our interface. And I'm using the Maschine Plus today. You can use the Maschine Mk3. Normally I use my Orion Studio 2017 version, but today I'm using the Maschine Plus. So I have that selected there. And then our status, it says running, sample rate 44.1, and then the buffer size is set to 128. Now this is important because you do not want to have a high buffer, because if you do, you are going to have latency in your recording. So you do not want to have this high. You want to keep this around 128, 256. If you're recording something else other than vocals, then you can afford to maybe go up to 512 or 1024, but you normally want to keep this as low as possible. You don't want to have it too low because you might introduce pops and clicks into your recordings, and you do not want that. So 128 I find is a good value for this here. So that's pretty much it for the input tab. You can check the output tab if you want to. This is just to make sure that your audio is being heard back correctly. So for Maschine Out 1L, we have port number 1, and then for Maschine Out 1R, we have port number 2, and that's going to be the main outputs of your machine. So I have, well, in my case, I have my machine actually connected to my Orion Studio. So the audio is actually connected from my Maschine Studio into my patch bay that is then routed to my audio interface. And that's how I'm kind of recording this tutorial. So it's advanced routing, but for you, this should work perfectly for you. And then for this one here, it says Maschine Out 2L. This is headphones 3, and then this is headphones number 4. So we're going to go ahead and close out of this here and continue on with the tutorial. Now that my audio interface is set up, the next thing I want to do is come over here to the sound tab, and we're just going to click this just to make sure we have it selected. And then we're going to go ahead and sample something into Maschine. So to enter the sampling window, we want to hit S on our keyboard, and that's going to open up the sampling window. Now you're going to see my voice coming through right here, because that is how I'm speaking to you right now, is through Maschine. So right now I have my mode set to sync. I have my length set to free. This is important. The source, I have it select to external mono because I'm using a vocal mic as shown how I hooked it up before. So you want to make sure this is set to mono. It still will work with stereo, but you might have some weird, left right issues going on, but for the most part, you want to select mono. And then we have internal. Now that our source is selected, we want to select our input, and I just used N1L. Just make it easier. And then of course, right now I'm monitoring right here under the monitor tab. So if I turn this off, you won't be able to hear me at all. All right. So that's pretty much the sampling tab. Now I have mine set to sync. You can also use detect loop auto, but for now I'm just going to do the sync, and let's just go ahead and record my vocal into Maschine here. So I'm just going to hit start, and then I'm going to hit the play button, and it's going to wait for the next bar to start recording. 1, 2, 3, test. Hit stop, and then you can see my vocal here. And let's go ahead and hit this triangle for preview. 1, 2, 3, test. And then we can do things like trim it, go to edit, slice it up if we want to, do whatever we have to do. 1, 2, 3, test. We can name it 1, 2, 3, test. And that's all good there. So that is the traditional way of sampling. That is if you want to just record in maybe some drum breaks, whatever the case may be, you can do it like this. Just a quick and easy way to sample inside of a Maschine. Now, the next way that I want to show you is if you want to record through an effect. And I'm going to show you how to record internally and with that effect on. So let me go ahead and back up here. I just want to go ahead and delete this because we no longer need it. And we're going to reset this here. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn off my monitoring tab. But before I do, I want to set this up to record from my sound tab here. So now you can either do it from the mixing window, or you can either do it from right here using the channel button. So I'll do that first, and then I'll show you on the mixer tab as well. So right here, you want to make sure that the input is selected, and then you want to select audio. And then for the drop down for the source, you want to make sure that you are selecting N1L. So I'm going to do this. It's going to double my audio for a second, and I'm going to turn off the other monitor. So this is my amplified audio here. And then we want to turn off the monitor here. And now it's back to normal. So this gain right here is not really important, only if you want to use it as a monitor. So maybe you need extra volume, you can turn this up, but it's not going to really affect your recording at all. You can see down below that the audio is what it is. You can see if I adjust this gain here, it's not going to affect the recording down below. The gain is going to be the same down below. That is controlled through my Art2 preamp. So if I adjust the gain here, my vocal might be lower in my headphones, but it's not affecting my signal coming in to Maschine. And that's important to understand. So this gain right here is just for more of like a level thing. Now this gain right here is also connected to right here as well. So if I click that, I could control this as well. And so that is pretty much the gain there. And again, that's not affecting this gain right here, because this is how the audio is getting into Maschine right here. The important thing to understand is this is just monitoring everything. So let's go ahead and open the plugin effects here, and then I can go over to internal, and let's just select a reverb, something that's obvious. So this is my metaverb. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit so you can kind of hear the effect. So let's just say for right now, if I record right now, it's not going to record the reverb, even though you can hear the reverb right now. Again, it's just monitoring only. So let's go ahead and hit the start record. But when I play it back, you're only going to hear the dry signal. One more time. So this is what it sounds like on a dry signal with the reverb. So this is what it sounds like on a dry signal with the reverb. So again, it was dry. You didn't hear anything. That was because of the reverb. Now, normally I don't record on this track here. I like to record on a different track. So let's back up here, undo that. And I'm going to undo that again, And let's go ahead and do start. 1, 2, 3, test. 1, 2, 3, test, dry signal. All right, so my track is here. Again, I'm going to play it back. It's going to be no reverb. 1, 2, 3, test. 1, 2, 3, test. Now, let's just say, for example, let me turn this off because it's getting annoying. Turn that down all the way. Okay, so now let's just say, for example, that we want to record with this reverb on. All right, so for the source, what I want to do, I'm just going to set this to group A1. And that's going to be able to record my reverb here. So I'm just going to cut this up. I'm going to hit record, and then you're going to be able to hear the reverb. And when I play it back, you're going to be able to hear the reverb in the recording. Because what's happening is I'm recording everything internally. So I'm going to cut this up, and you're going to be able to hear the reverb. Turn this up just a little bit. And this time I want to use an audio track to track this out here. So let's go ahead and hit record and record the vocal. This is what the vocal sounds like when the vocal is wet with reverb. Alright, so I'm going to play this back and you are going to be able to hear the reverb. This is what the vocal sounds like when the vocal is wet with reverb. Alright, so now let me turn off this reverb here again. Alright, so just to recap, we've learned how to select our audio interface. We've learned how to sample audio. We've used the sound tab to monitor. I showed you the gain structure and the levels. And then I have shown you how to record with effects and also record internally. So I hope you have found this tutorial to be of value. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and please do not forget to turn on the bell notifications. So whenever I drop a new video, you will be the first person to be notified. It's your boy Young Fizz, aka Mr.dopestatus on Instagram, and we will see you on the next video. Thank you for tuning in. We out.